Hey guys, what's going on? Memes here. So I believe I had initially seen this article going around and everything, and I was looking to see where it came from, and I'm just okay. People want to have the mainstream sources and stuff like that, and then I saw it as a guest essay published on the New York Times website, the paper of record, unless about people complain, and then occasionally they change articles. That set aside, it's very interesting because this is starting to go a bit more mainstream, and there's some folks that have been talking about stuff for years, and people have different ideas and everything. But let's not belabor the point. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Well, we shall. This is a guest essay. The story of our universe may be starting to unravel, and they have this fantastical animation. I love it. I totally use it for the thumbnail as well as the other tabs there. But this is by Adam Frank and Marcelo Gleisner. Gleiser, pardon. Dr. Frank is an astrophysicist at the University of Rochester, and Dr. Gleiser is a theoretical physicist at Dartmouth College. Oh, nearby. Cool. Not long after the James Webb Space Telescope began beaming back from outer space its stunning images of planets and nebulae. Last year, astronomers, though dazzled, had to admit that something was amiss. 8 months later, based in part on what the telescope has revealed, it's beginning to look as if we may need to rethink key features of the origin and development of the universe. Launched at the end of 2021 as a joint project of NASA and the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency, the Webb, a tool with unmatched powers of observation, is on an exciting mission to look back in time, in effect, at the first stars and galaxies. But one of the Webb's first major findings was exciting in an uncomfortable sense. It discovered the existence of fully formed galaxies far earlier than should have been possible, according to the so-called standard model of cosmology. Now, to be fair, it's one of the things that I've learned from Professor Carroll. Shout out to Professor Carroll. Full disclosure, I showed him a couple bucks on his Patreon. The thing that I've really noticed is whatever you have there, if we have good explanatory powers, we have what's known as Bayesian priors. What the heck's a Bayesian prior? It's all right, we have a multitude of evidence, and this is what the majority of folks in the community happen to believe. It's like, okay, it's done pretty well. It's explained a lot of things. And that was based upon the best observations and data we have at the time. We have new observations, and hopefully, we're starting to get a lot more better data at this time. So it's only natural. It's like, okay, you're going to shift. And again, a lot of these things can be accounted for within the cosmological model because typically you have a standard distribution. It kind of goes out like this. And is it possible you would see fully formed galaxy stuff? That could totally happen. Now, if it continues to happen, as I believe we've conjectured on this channel before, full disclosure, then maybe we need to rethink things. But let's just get back to the article. According to the standard model, which is the basis for essentially all research in the field, there is a fixed and precise sequence of events that followed the Big Bang. First, the force of gravity pulled together denser regions in the cooling cosmic gas, which grew to become stars and black holes. Then, the force of gravity pulled together the stars and the galaxies. The Webb data, though, reveals that some very large galaxies formed really fast in too short a time, at least according to the standard model. This was no minor discrepancy. The finding is akin to parents and their children appearing in a story when the grandparents are still children themselves. Well, that's an interesting metaphor. Reminds me of kind of the stupidest. My own grandpa. Oh, that's a different one. Apologies. It was not, unfortunately, an isolated incident. There have been other recent occasions in which the evidence behind science's basic understanding of the universe has been found to be alarmingly inconsistent. Take the matter of how fast the universe is expanding. This is a foundational fact in cosmological science, the so-called Hubble constant. Yet scientists have not been able to settle on a number. There are two main ways to calculate. One involves measurements of the early universe, such as the sort that Webb is providing. The other involves measurements of nearby stars in the modern universe. Despite decades of efforts, these two methods continue to lead to yield different answers. Now, my quick interjection here is I believe one of the other ways is actually using the CMB, the cosmic microwave background. Basically, the imprint of when the universe, as we know it, was younger. Let's see if they touch upon that. I skimmed through and read some of it. At first, scientists expected this discrepancy to resolve as the data got better. But the problem has stubbornly persisted, even as the data has gotten far more precise. And now new data from the Webb have exacerbated the problem. This trend suggests a flaw in the model, not in the data. Ooh, they're they're making some bold claims that a lot of folks would push back on, and they totally have the right to speak their minds, to share their opinions, to share their data, their models, to see if we can get a best fit. Why? Because it isn't science supposed to be the process of becoming less wrong, less ignorant, trying to figure out what's going on? That's my opinion of that. We continue. Two serious issues with the standard model of cosmology would be concerning enough, but the model has already been patched up numerous times over the past half century to better conform with the best available data. Alterations that may well be necessary and correct, but which, in light of the problems we are now confronting, could strike a skeptic as a bit too convenient. Physicists and astronomers are starting to get a sense that something may be really wrong. It's not that just some of us believe we might have to rethink the standard model of cosmology. We might also have to change the way we think about some of the most basic features of our universe. A conceptual revolution that would have implications far beyond the world of science. I did not see that particular word in there, and yeah, I don't know. I'm totally biased on this. Full disclosure there. Hey, man, Squatch, what's going on, my dude? I don't know. Does the cosmological revolution start now? Did it start 2 weeks ago when I did the other video? I don't know. Let's continue with our friends here. Don't worry, it's not going to be, it isn't really any math or anything in this. We're just talking about the discussions. I know I scare a lot of folks off, but it's okay. Math may be hard. That's why we have Wolfram Alpha. A potent mix of hard-won data and rarefied abstract mathematical physics, the standard model of cosmology is rightfully understood as a triumph of human ingenuity. It has its origins in Edwin Hubble's discovery in the 1920s that the universe was expanding. The first piece of evidence for the Big Bang, then in 1964, radio astronomers discovered the so-called cosmic microwave background, the fossil radiation reaching us from shortly after the universe began expanding. That finding told us that the early universe was a hot, dense soup of subatomic particles. It's been continually cooling and becoming less dense ever since. So, yeah, we got the CMB in there. It's well, that's the thing. It's a great time to be a nerd. I'm gonna make that claim right now, just because all of a sudden, and I mean, to be fair, this isn't really that much different than when we had launched the Hubble back, was it the 80s, late 80s, something like that. And all of a sudden, this new data is coming in. So we changed the model a little bit, add some different factors. Why? We want to be less wrong. I mean, it's not like we're just saying things because it just supports wherever our money and everything is being going to at that time. We're just saying what everyone else is saying because those people have jobs. That would be a question for the system and not within the scope of this video. Yes, they did. They needed to update the lens. That's oopsie, but it was close enough. The James Webb, there was no room for error there because it's, I don't know, like a million something miles away. It's like, yeah, you can't just send someone up there in the shuttle to fix a broken lens or something like that. Yeah, that's why it was. Everyone was crossing their fingers. It's like, oh my God, please don't go wrong. Okay, let's continue. Over the past 60 years, cosmology has become ever more precise in its ability to account for the best available data about the universe. But along the way, to gain such a high degree of perception, astrophysicists have had to postulate the existence of components of the universe for which we have no direct evidence. The standard model today holds that normal matter, the stuff that makes up people and planets and everything else we can see, constitutes only about 4% of the universe. The rest is invisible stuff called dark matter, dark energy, roughly 27% and 68%. So generally, within the current paradigm, the vast majority of stuff and things in what we colloquially refer to as universe, we don't know. We call it dark, which better interpretation will probably be invisible. We can't see it. We see effects of stuff going on, but our current model is not quite sure. Cosmic inflation is an example of yet another exotic adjustment made to the standard model, devised in 1981 to resolve paradoxes arising from an older version of the Big Bang. The theory holds that the universe expanded exponentially fast for a fraction of a second after the Big Bang. This theory solves certain problems but creates others. Notably, according to most versions of the theory, rather than there being one universe, ours is just one universe in a multiverse, an infinite number of universes, the other of which may be forever unobservable to us, not just in practice, but also in principle. I mean, that's not very all that satisfying right there. Just because as human beings, it might be the answer. It might totally be the answer if we don't have a way to measure or falsify it. Is it really as maybe sometimes you gotta just have some faith. But let's go on. It's not all that long. There is nothing inherently fishy about these features of the standard model. Scientists often discover good indirect evidence for things we cannot see, such as the hyperdense singularities inside a black hole. But in the wake of Webb's confounding data about galaxy formation and the worsening problem with the Hubble constant, you can't be blamed for starting to wonder if the model is out of joint. Ooh, I mean, these are professionals. I wouldn't say that they're scathing, but they're basically asking the questions that a lot of us more, I don't know, folks that like to talk about science and physics and stuff and things and cosmology on the internet. I don't know about y'all, but I've been kind of scratching. And again, I have my own personal ideas and beliefs. That's not for this video. I'm just going to go upon what a whole bunch of smart folks are saying. Well, it's there are fascinating things coming in, and it's just, man, Squatch, my dude, it's exciting. It's exciting, and to be fair, if somebody is interested in actually utilizing the James Webb, is open. Anybody can submit a proposal. Now, the chances of being accepted, most of the folks that do it typically are within the community and everything like that. And only about, I think, 1/3 or 1/4 or 1/5 of the actual proposals submitted, typically from those folks, do it. But if you're a go-getter, if you got some ideas for a good plan, you too can submit a proposal because it is the People's Telescope. We continue. A familiar narrative about how science works is often shared at this point to assuage anxieties. It goes like this. Researchers think that they have a successful theory, but new data shows it is flawed. Courageously rolling up their sleeves, the scientists go back to their blackboards and come up with new ideas that allow them to improve their theory by better matching the evidence. It's a story of both humility and triumph, and we scientists love to tell it. And maybe what happens in this case too. Perhaps the solution to the problem the Webb is forcing us to confront will require only that cosmologists come up with a new dark something or another that will allow our picture of the universe to continue to match the best cosmological data. There is, however, another possibility. We may be at a point where we need a radical departure from the standard model, one that may even require us to change how we think of the elemental components of the universe, possibly even the nature of space and time. Cosmology is not like other sciences. It's not like studying mice in a maze or watching chemicals boil in a beaker in a lab. The universe is everything there is. There is only one, and we can't look at it from the outside. You can't put it in a box on a table and run controlled experiments on it because it is all encompassing. Cosmology forces scientists to tackle questions about the very environment in which science operates, the nature of time, the nature of space, the nature of law like regularity, and the role of observers doing the observations. Ooh, they're poetically waxing and waning right there. It could be this. My personal opinion. It seems like you're kind of throwing a little bit of shade, but is it unfair? I mean, it seems to have mostly worked so far, but let's not belabor the point. Almost done. These rarefied issues don't come up in most regular science, although one encounters similarly shadowy issues in the science of consciousness and in quantum physics. Working so close to the boundary between science and philosophy, cosmologists are continually haunted by the ghosts of basic assumptions hiding unseen in the tools we use, such as the assumption that scientific laws don't change over time. They may occasionally change in temperature, kind of like the fine structure constant, I'm just saying. But that's precisely the sort of assumption we might have to start questioning in order to figure out what's wrong with the standard model. One possibility, raised by the physicist Lee Smolin and the philosopher Roberto Magnanabira Unga, is that the laws of physics can evolve and change over time. Different laws might even compete for effectiveness. And even more, a radical possibility discussed by the physicist John Wheeler is that every act of observation influences the future and even the past history of the universe. Dr. Wheeler, working to understand the paradoxes of quantum mechanics and themes of a participatory universe in which every act of observation was in some sense a new act of creation. I think that's the meme of kind of like you have like universe, and it's kind of got like a U, and then on one end it's a little higher, and it's like an eyeball like observing itself. It's like, I don't know, is that kind of like an Ouroboros? I don't know. I don't know. Hey, Kara. Hey, thank you for joining. It's well, hopefully I can help put you to sleep. I won't try to be too loud. Uh, well, that's the thing. We're trying to figure out the base rules of reality because we have certain things. We have our measurements and everything, and then we got the constants of nature. So we've got things like the force of gravity as we know it. We have Planck's constant. We have a lot of constants. The electromagnetic constant. We got the speed of light. This is our data, and at least coincidentally, going down the Wolfram hole, it appears, I could be wrong, that aside from something dimensionless like the fine structure constant, we only need 5-dimensional ingredients to create those features of reality as we know it: time, space, charge, mass, and temperature. Could be wrong, but kind of appears to be the case. Let's wrap up. All right. It is not obvious, to say the least, how such revolutionary reconsiderations of our science might help us better understand the cosmological data that is fluxing us. I like that word. Part of the difficulty is that the data themselves are shaped by the theoretical assumptions of those who collect them. It would necessarily be a leap of faith to step back and rethink such fundamentals about our science. But a revolution may end up being the best path to progress. That has certainly been the case in the past with scientific breakthroughs such as Copernicus's heliocentrism, Darwin's theory of evolution, and Einstein's relativity. All three of those theories also ended up having enormous cultural influences, threatening our sense of our special place in the cosmos, challenging our intuition that we were fundamentally different than other animals, upending our faith in common sense ideas about the flow of time. Any scientific revolution of the sort we're imagining would presumably have comparable reverberations in our understanding of ourselves. The philosopher Robert Crease has written that Philosophy is what's required when doing more science. When doing more science may not answer a scientific question. It's not clear yet if that's what's needed to overcome the crisis on cosmology. But if more tweaks and adjustments don't do the trick, we may not just need a new theory of the universe, but we may also need a new way to tell stories about it. And that's our article. The links are in the doobly-doo below. Got some cool pictures from Wikipedia about the James Webb. And then we have the cool question mark, perhaps quest giver sign that some observations have shown there. Cool. Yes, ASMR. Actually, Gar, if you want some ASMR cosmology, the channel Let's Find Out, fantastic. Rich, he does things during the rain. He reads a lot of old books and everything, and a lot of compilations are a couple hours long. I fall asleep to that on a frequent and regular basis. Maybe with a new computer, maybe I'll do a little bit of that. We'll see. But exactly, the human connection, it's important to us. So that's all we got right now. Peace out, everybody. Take care of yourselves. It's a wacky and wild world out there, but I'm going to claim the best is yet to come. Take care, everyone.